everyone, I'm back, and today we are going to work on complementary colors. Now, I hope you have seen my other video in which we made a color wheel and we worked on tints and shades. Today we're going to use the primary and secondary colors to mix them and come up with complementary color mixing. Alright, I'm using Sketchbook Pro, but you are welcome to use any program you like. Remember, this is for absolute beginners, no experience necessary. I will be doing this very slowly and in a soft voice so that you can follow along and you don't need to stop and hit the pause button all the time. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my color wheel, which I have on the right hand side. I'm going to click on the red and I'm going to go over to the left, and you'll see here I have my brush palette, and up here we have our normal strong paintbrush, which we can use to put colors down, but it's not one of my favorite brushes. Instead, I'm going to use one called Scroungy Brush, and when I click on it and it's highlighted, you'll notice that it has a pressure sensitivity. It's good for filling in, but I can also lighten up my pressure on my brush and get a bit of a fade going, and it looks a lot more like a real brush. Alright, so our color wheel. We have red, yellow, and blue in our color wheel, and I'm just going to use these three colors that we discussed before. And one of the things that we need to remember is that yellow and blue makes green, but green is very difficult using an RGB system. If you look up here at the palette, RGB is R for red. Here's where these numbers are at. G for green, which green is the color of the light that's coming through your screen, not yellow, and blue. And here, because I have blue clicked, you'll see it here's my main color blue, and the blue is in this triangle palette. It is 0 red, 0 green, and 2, 5, 5 blue. Yesterday we discussed that when you mix blue, and I'm going to click my yellow here, and yellow together, it does not make a very beautiful green at all. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to take this black indicator on the wheel and I'm going to move it over till I have a nice mid color of green somewhere in there, and just add a little green here. If you watch the yellow up here, and I'm going to add my red to make orange in the middle, you can see we can actually get some nice color blending going on. I can make my own colors. Grab a little bit more yellow. I can make my own colors of orange. And if I come over here to my brush palette once again, and I click on my smudge brush, yours might be called a blending brush. I happen to have several here, but this is one of my favorites, the smudge round brush. And I just smudge these together. You can see I can get some lovely colors of orange, maybe a little bit more red, add some red to that. Here we go. And maybe add some more yellow. Yes, there we go. We've got some nice colors going on there. Get some yellow down into that green. Get some nice yellow green going on. Put in that green into the blue and get some very pretty colors there. I am going to very quickly press my Shift key, and my Shift key makes this really lovely dialog here where I can click the magnifying, and I can click on these little arrow areas and move my canvas up a little bit, because what I want to do is I want my purples in here too. So I'm going to go back to my left brush palette, pick up my scrunchie brush, and then go back over to the right and grab some of this red. Once again, make a nice big puddle down here, and then click on my blue again. You can see I can get some purples tones already. You can see that purple coming in already. I'm going to click on my smudge brush, my blender, and just smudge that and see all that purple that I get. Now when I'm touching my Wacom tablet, I'm not pushing down and dragging. You can do that, but for me I'm just sitting in a little area and making a little swirl. Sitting in an area and making a little swirl. And that way I get the colors mixed up right there, not making big streaks or anything, just making little, almost like little grapes of wrath. Alright, just mixing these colors together. So I've got a nice continuum of red to orange, orange to yellow, yellow to green, green to blue, blue to purple, and purple back to red. Now, on our color wheel, which is, real quick, grab my brush, red, yellow, blue, and then we have all those mixed colors as they go around. There's our purple and our green, which never really happens beautifully. We're going to work on complementary color. Complementary color means the exact opposite on the color wheel. It means that they, when sitting next to each other, they are opposite on the color wheel and on that light spectrum visually, not in a technical sense that the wavelengths of the light touch your eyes and those wavelengths are different. Not scientifically, but these are opposites. And you'll find that in a lot of team sports, they use opposites. Let me give you a real quick demonstration using some paint chips. Now, instead of buying a fancy coloring wheel, I went to the local hardware store and I pick up some paint chips because they're free. Now, I don't advocate stealing. I do advocate looking at paint. So, let's say red and green are opposite each other, and they will pop when next to each other. This is a very dark red. Let me find a much brighter red. Oh, here's a prime example, pink and green. Light green and pink green, they pop next to each other. Not a very good example of a team color though. Blue and orange is a perfect example of being opposite on the spectrum. They pop, and sometimes you'll find images where one color almost vibrates on another. Have you ever noticed that it's really sometimes strange to see red letters on top of blue paper, and they just kind of vibrate and look weird? And it's because they are so opposite. Now, when we are working with our complementary colors, let me grab black here, make this much smaller. I have this wonderful little dialogue here that I can just drag and get smaller. red is going to be the opposite of green. Let me add that green in there because, oh, computer green is so hard to mix. Alright, so red is opposite of green, blue is opposite of orange, yellow is opposite of purple. So what we need to do now is we need to start filling in our line because we're going to mix those colors together and see what kinds of mud they make. Yellow will be opposite of purple. I've got my scroungy brush. And orange, let me grab this orange up here with my dropper tool. Now for those of you who have not seen the dropper tool before yet, over here on my palette I have a dropper tool right here. You can click it, and when you click on a color it will pick up that color for you. So if you watch as I go around, my palette now changes to the oranges, and you can see exactly where the orange is on that color spectrum. Let's see if I can pick up some of this really bright orange that's right here. There we go. This orange in the palette over here is 255 red, 184 green, and a little bit of blue. You can see it's right here on that color spectrum. I'm just going to squeak it over a little bit so it's a lot stronger orange. There we go. Look at that bright orange. I'm going to take my scroungy brush and I'm going to put the orange right in front of that blue. You can see I'm going to start blending that a little over that blue. The opposite of green is red. So we're going to come back to our palette, click our red, and we're going to put that in front of our green. Once again, purple is the complementary to yellow. It's the opposite on the color wheel. So I'm going to click my dropper tool and I'm going to move my dropper tool over here to purple. Now there's a real pretty violet red purple here, and there's a very pretty bluish purple there. Let me see which one we can pick up. Oh, I like that. It's very grape. If you look in the color palette on the right hand side, it is 126 red, 79 green, and 205 blue. I think I'm going to just grab my little black indicator lines here and just edge it a little closer to pure purple. There we go. And I'm going to add that pure purple over here in front of the yellow. There we go. Once again, the opposite of orange is blue. So I'm just going to grab this blue and put it on our canvas and start edging it into that orange. And the opposite of red is green. And I'm going to grab my palette and my eyedropper tool. Oh, I clicked on it twice. And I need that really bright, pretty green. There we go. I'm going to put that on the opposite side of our reds. Here we go. We have red number 1 at the top and red number 2 at the bottom. Now, the reason I said mud is because if you ever have a bucket of water when you're painting with oils or acrylics and you put the brush in to clean it, and you swipe it around, swipe it around, swipe it around, you pull it out, you clean it on your towel and then you work some more. You put it in the water and you swish it around and clean it. Every time you clean it, you're adding pigments of the paint into the bucket. That turns always into a really muddy brown, because with paint, the more colors you add, the less strong they become, and they become very muddied. So, what I want you to do today is when you're mixing your colors, I've grabbed my smudge round blender over here again. We're just going to start at the top. I want you to notice some of these different colors of tan and brown that you get. I'm going to pull some more red, pull some more green in here. Just grab that red and drag it over. Grab that green and drag it over. And just mix. And look at what is happening to the colors. Grab this orangey color and the blue. Here I'm going to grab my yellow into the purple. Grab that green into the red. Just mixing and mixing. Grab that blue into the orange again. And you'll notice what we're getting as we go along. We're getting different colors of mud. Now this is important because brown can come in a warm brown or a cool brown. And you don't always want to add brown or black to shade things. What you want to do sometimes is you want to add an extra complementary color, the one that is the opposite color, to make the color more soothing and calm, or not as saturated, or just to be more interesting. I'm going to mix this, all this color mixing. We have a bunch of new different colors of brown and tan in here, because these colors almost kind of cancel each other out. Just going along and mixing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on my black. I am going to come to my layer palette. I am going to add a layer. If you look up here at the top, there is a plus sign, and it will tell you add layer. I'm just going to click on that and add another layer. Now for those of you who are new, a layer is like putting paint on a sheet of plastic. You can see through the clear plastic. You can move things around. You can bring it closer. You can push it farther away. That layer is very helpful in digital painting. So we're going to work on this new layer. I'm going to grab up here at the top row. You can see I've got different tools up here. I'm going to grab my drawing tool, and I'm going to grab a square. And on this new layer, I'm going to just draw a square here, and I'm going to draw another rectangle here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this top, and I have a paint bucket tool, also known as the fill tool. If I click on it, what it will do is it will fill inside the shape. As long as that shape has a solid outside and it's not unbroken, you can fill like a bucket. If there's a hole in the side, it will leak out. So you have to use your fill bucket on something that is solid and will not leak. I'm going to fill this rectangle with black, and I'm going to fill this rectangle with black, just so that at this moment we can focus only on the colors that are on the inside. And I want you to look, and you'll notice all the different colors of browns that you have. The next thing we're going to do is something that we did in yesterday's. Here on our layers, we have that top layer with our 2 black boxes we made. We have the bottom layer with all of the beautiful colors we made. And we have a background layer. On this background layer, there's a circle. We're going to click on that. And it has a dialog that comes up where you can make different colors on your background canvas. This is very important when you see how colors can be mixed together and how the color of the background bleeds through that plastic sheet layer into your paint. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the one that is up in the corner, because it makes a second dialog where you can have a pure white canvas or a pure black canvas or a middle gray. And this is where I want you to look at the colors that you have made and see how they react to the different surfaces. Most importantly, I'm going to use this middle one, which is middle gray. Now you can see all the different browns that have been made just by mixing these colors, and you'll notice that a lot of these browns are very similar, very orange colored background, very tan. There's no neutral color in there because there's so much yellow. If we add, let's go to our layer 1 layer, that is the layers with the color, and I'm going to grab my scroungy brush and I'm going to come to my palette and click white. So if we add white to this, that's our next challenge. I'm going to add some white here. 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 And I'm going to click my black, and I'm going to add some black here, add some black here, and add some black here. I am going now to get my smudge round, and I'm going to start mixing these browns, and I want you to look at what happens with these colors, how they mix together. You've got a greenish brown here, you've got purplish brown mud here, you've got more bluish mud here, you've got some warm mud here, and some green mud here. Here we take our black and we're mixing in our black. Look at all these new shades of mud. Black in the greenish tints, black in the orangish browns, black in the reddish browns. You get all of these very interesting browns. and tans. In your colors. Lots and lots of interesting brown. And this is color mixing things you need to understand. The more colors you add, the more mud you get in the bucket. But those complementary colors, when you mix them together, you're going to get very interesting shades of brown and shading. Instead of just grabbing some brown and airbrushing it in something and making really muddy, ugly, dark colors. I'm going to come back over here to the left to my layers palette. Up here I have an eyeball, which means that I can hide things. I'm going to hide this second layer that had our boxes on it, and once again we've got our colors. So look at all of these colors compared to our original primary color. So if I'm wanting to shade with violet and I want an interesting brown, instead of a dirty brown, adding dirty brown in, I can add yellow and I can get these very interesting tones, almost green right here, to my painting and not all mud. If I am shading something red, I can add a little bit of green and get these really interesting browns. Same thing here with the tints. If I need to add some complementary color and make something lighter brown, more desaturated, look at that tint there. Want that green not to be so strong? Just add a little bit of this, a little bit of white, and a little bit of red. Or just white and red is pink. Look there, that green right here in this area. I'm going to add a new layer real quick. It's not so bright, is it? It's toned down a lot compared to this green here. But if I take brown, let me go right over to my palette and find some brown. Let's see, I have several browns here. That's on the orange spectrum. You can see because here's orange up here at this corner. If I just take a spray brush and just if I added brown to everything, it would get very dull very quick. It's not very interesting. Or black. Add some black to that. It does make it darker, but it's not a very pretty darkness. I really like this purpley darkness here compared to the yellow. So remember your complementary colors for when you're wanting to shade and not just adding black. I hope you've had fun making a little mess on our screen today. Remember, there is no perfect way to do anything. This is an experiment. Have fun with it. Bye.